Good evening. It's 6:01. We have a quorum. I will call the Finance Committee meeting of October 25th, 2022 to order. First item is approval of minutes. 2A, draft minutes of the October 4th and 5th, 2022 DH budget presentation meetings. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move approval.
We have a motion for approval. Discussion, changes. Hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to item 2B, draft minutes of the October 11th, 2022 Finance Committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion and discussion, changes, corrections. Hearing none. I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next item, public appearances, non-agenda items. We have nobody in chambers registered, and I don't believe there's anybody online. All right, thank you, Scott. Moving on to item 4, Finance Director Report, and I'll turn this over to our Director of Finance, Misty Dodge.
Thank you. So to start, there are 2 treasurer reports included in the packet for tonight. There's the June 30th one and the July 31st one. I actually got the August and September ones done as well. They're out on the website, and you'll see them officially at the next meeting. So it feels good to finally be caught up on those. At this point in the year, the market was continuing to decline. You know, investment rates were quite a bit lower than what we've seen recently. I'll tell you, between the very unfavorable investment market as well as just staff capacity, we ended up keeping a lot of our money liquid, just in general, not checking accounts, but kind of the equivalent. We met with our advisors in October, and we started to invest some more of that money now because the market has really turned around in the last month or so. So at this point in the year, though, when these 2 reports are here, we were just kind of, CDs were maturing and rolling off, but we were choosing not to reinvest it at that time.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
I do have more reports. I don't know if you want to pause and see if there's questions on the treasurer's reports first.
No, I don't believe so. Hearing none.
Okay. Other than that, so budget process is nearing the end. So the council proposed amendments were posted to the website as scheduled last Friday. Tomorrow evening is our committee of the whole meeting, where we will have the discussion on all of the amendments, both the council proposed ones, as well as my omnibus correction amendments. Any staff that could be impacted by the amendments, we've requested that they be available on Zoom for both the committee of the whole meeting and the council night to just answer any questions, so you guys have all the information that you need to make your decisions. So that is out there. Town of Madison is less than a week away. There's a lot to do between now and then. We're still trying to figure out kind of property tax bills and some of the logistics from the finance department perspective. But we are working with Dane County, the Department of Revenue, and the City of Madison to make sure we are all on the same page for this unusual transition year. And then property taxes, starting to talk about those. We did get our first levy from the overlying jurisdiction yesterday. Normally, I would kind of report to you on what that means, but with this town nuance, I'd rather just kind of tell you when we know all of the answers and how it's all going to shake out. But things are starting to come together now. You may remember in the last couple of years, we had property tax collection in a separate room to try to keep people away from the counter for COVID concerns. We're actually going to move that back to where it had been before COVID on that counter. So it is kind of nice to get back to the normal swing of things. That's all I have.
Very good. Additional questions or follow-up? Alder Wheeler.
Can I ask a question on a supplemental expenditure
Absolutely.
report? I see that overtime wages was $243,300. What percentage of that is police overtime or public safety overtime?
Yeah, so I'm looking at June. I don't know which month you were looking at, June or July.
That's June.
June. So the detail for each one of those is included in there as well. So page 33 is the police department overtime. So about 147,000 of it is police. The next page is fire. 70,000 of that is fire. And then the other big one, not nearly as big, but public works is about 15,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Additional questions? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to our next item. Item 5, review of bills. 5A, detailed review of checks for $10,000 and above for the period of October 1st to the 15th, 2022, totaling $207,050.19. Questions, discussion? Hearing none, moving on to 5B, detailed review of all checks issued, checks number 124031 through 124088, October 1st through the 15th, 2022, totaling $303,721.17. Discussion.
No, but can we go back to the detailed checks of 10,000 and above real quick?
Back to 5A?
Yes.
Yeah, no. Let's finish up on B and then we'll go back to A.
Okay.
Is there any questions for 5B? Hearing none, we'll go back to you 5A if you'd go ahead.
It's on page 81, and it's the water tower clean and coat. You know, how often are those water towers cleaned?
That is a fantastic question that I will find out and get back to the committee about.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, additional questions? Hearing none, moving on to 5C, detailed review of P-card transactions for $10,000 and above for the cycle ending September 6, 2022. Total dollars, $102,454.55. Questions, discussion? Hearing none, moving on to 5D, review of P-card transactions for the cycle ending September 6, 2022, totaling $247,432.85. Questions, discussion from the committee? Yes, go ahead,
I have a
Alder Wheeler.
question. So on August 10th, 2022, $2,600, the Midwest Vet Dental, Drago, that are,
Drago is our K-9
okay,
in the police department.
$2,600 of dental work. Is anybody brushing his teeth?
I would assume so.
Okay, thanks.
All right, no additional questions or discussion. We will move on to action items, which is number 6, 6A. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-185-22, requesting exemption from county library tax? We have a motion. Misty, we'll turn this over to you. You have the floor.
Thank you. So this is an annual resolution. We do it every year about this time. The purpose of this is to inform Dane County that our taxpayers through the city of Fitchburg pay a fair share for the library services that we provide here at the city of Fitchburg. And so we do not need to also pay the county library tax. So it's us exempting ourselves from that county-specific tax.
Very good. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to item 6B. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-196-22, approving the First Amendment to the library chiller design and construction services contract?
I move approval.
We have a motion for approval. Misty, you speak to this item as well?
I will. The heating and cooling system at the library has been not running as well as we would like. It has some critical failures that we need to address. So we did a contract for the design services up through the bidding process. It was less than $25,000, so staff was able to authorize that. Now we need additional professional services to get through the bidding and then also do the construction installation services to kind of oversee the project that's happening. So this is a change order to that existing contract to get that help in here. From what I understand, the bids were actually opened today, so hopefully we'll have some answers soon and a proposal in front of you guys to actually replace the chiller. With it being a public building, that is not one that we want to not have a chiller that's working.
Very good discussion. Questions? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Let's see, moving on to item 6C, motion to approve Resolution R-197-22, approval for squad lease buyouts.
I move approval.
We have a motion before us. Misty, you're going to speak to this one as well?
I am. We are on the tail end of our transition from leasing squads into buying squads. Part of that phase-out program was that when the squad leases were up, we would spend a little bit of money to purchase those off of lease, get a couple more years out of them, so that we could build up the money to replace it with a purchased vehicle in the future. So I believe this is our last batch of ones that we will do this for, with us purchasing all our squads going forward. This is a great long-term financial move, because buying it up front is generally cheaper than leasing it, especially if there's maintenance costs and things. But also beyond just the use of the squad, once the vehicles are done being squads, they'll get transitioned to another use within the city. The high performance is not quite as needed, so we'll be able to use used vehicles in other areas.
Very good. Questions, discussion? Yes, Alder Gerhart, go ahead.
And this isn't super important, but I'm just curious about why we leased police vehicles from the outset, because I believe that it's unusual practice for municipalities. That's my understanding.
Correct. We had for a very long time. It was unusual. Even our insurance provider suggested not leasing squad vehicles. I'm not sure what the start of it was, but it's definitely a transition that we're making now.
Great, thanks.
Additional questions? Okay, hearing none. Place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to action item 6D. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-198-22, set 2023 solid waste collection rates?
I move approval.
I have a motion for approval. And Misty?
This is another one of those things that we do every year. So the refuse and recycling charge is passed on to all of our residential customers as a special charge on the tax bill. This resolution here will set what that special charge is. The amount that's being proposed is the exact same as what was included in the mayor's proposed budget. It includes an increase of about 6%. So the annual fee would be $228. The brush charge would also be increased from 6.75% or $7 to $7. The annual charge is about a 6% increase, and really the bulk of that is the pass-through of the charge that we receive from Pelletieri, who does the work for us. And we've seen pretty significant increases from them, in particular because of the fuel charges that are higher. Even at this 6% increase, there's still an amount of fund balance that will be used to artificially reduce these rates, so it's not a strategy we can use too much longer going forward. But even after we use this fund balance, we will still be within policy within the refuse and recycling fund.
Okay, very good. Questions, discussion? Yes, Alder Gerhart.
Can you, so I know that I believe our policy for fund balance is 15 to 25%.
Plus state revenue.
Plus state revenue, okay. So I'm just curious, so and I think I've talked about this in my RCC report. RCC had a lot of discussion about this. They feel very strongly that it's too high of a hike. I'm just curious if you can talk a little bit about the rationale behind only dipping into the fund balance so far, and from your opinion as finance director, why that is the right call.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, our policy is first we set aside 1 year of state aid. So that's kind of set aside. And then we want it to be between 15 and 25% of revenues. How it is right now at that 6% increase will be at 22.9% of reserves, which is within policy, still towards the high end of the policy, but we're not over policy at that point. My bigger concern is that if we spend too much fund balance, especially in too many years, that money will eventually go away. And so you're really just kicking that can down the road. Eventually you'll have to have an even higher increase just to match the expenses that the utility is, or the fund is receiving from the contractor. So fund balance is a way to get through rainy days. I can appreciate that, especially with gas prices the way that they are, that refuse sees. But I'd hate to dip too much into that one-time money on something we know isn't going to go away.
Okay, additional questions? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to action item 6E, do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-201-22, intergovernmental agreement for the ownership, operation, and maintenance of the Badger Lane Lift Station?
I move approval.
I have a motion for approval, and Misty.
Thank you. So there's a portion of the town of Madison that's coming to the city of Fitchburg that is serviced by this lift station, the Badger Lane Lift Station. The lift station is currently owned and operated by the city of Madison, and then Madison bills the town of Madison their portion of the ongoing maintenance costs for it. Obviously, town of Madison is going away. Those are going to become our customers. So we needed to enter into an agreement with the city of Madison so that our customers could continue to use that lift station, and then we will have to pay in our prorated share of those costs. So this is a intergovernmental agreement with the city of Madison to reflect how much our responsibility is. The other big thing to note on this one is the annual cost isn't all that much. It's about $3,800 a year. Though it is a very small amount of customers that utilize this lift station. The bigger cost that we need to start planning for in the CIP process this coming year is the future replacement of this lift station. That's going to be a much higher cost that we need to start planning for.
Discussion, questions? Yes, Alder Gerhart.
So those are pretty big capital costs. That wasn't in the last process, or was that part of the town of Madison project? I don't recall. Okay.
It was not.
And we just didn't know the numbers at that point in time. Is that the reason we haven't seen it until now?
We're not exactly sure, but it wasn't suggested at the
Yeah.
time when we went
Okay.
through the process.
Okay, so we'll go through it in the next CIP process and see how we can balance it with the other projects.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
What is your thought as far as the replacement? Is that a year out, within 5 years? Hard to say at this point.
It's very soon. So we expect the design cost is going to be in 2023, in 2024, and then the build out will be 24 and 25.
Sure.
I will point out, though, that this is a sewer utility charge, so it's not something that's on the property taxes. It's something that would be recovered through the sewer rates.
Very good. Additional questions or discussion?
Are there any more surprises that we can anticipate?
I am sure there will be. Yep, I am confident there are things that we aren't necessarily thinking about or planning for. That's where it's really helpful to have that town hall sale money just kind of sitting there. So that can help.
Sure. Yes, Alder Gerhart.
So do we need to add that 2023 cost to this budget, or are we paying that in a future year?
So I believe they actually won't bill us until the following year. That's when the project will be complete.
Okay.
And since it's not our asset, we don't have to match it as closely.
Got it. Thanks.
Additional questions? Hearing none. Place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to our last action item, 6F. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-202-22, supporting the levy limit adjustment for the increase in the joint EMS district assessed charges? It's a direct referral.
I move approval.
We have a motion for approval, and Misty, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I feel like we've talked about this a few different times with the budget process and all of that, so I won't go into all of the details. At the end of the day, we need to pass this resolution, as does the city of Verona and the town of Verona, in order for us to take a levy limit adjustment for the increased cost that we will see from our share of the Fitch-Verona EMS service in 2023. So if all three entities pass this resolution, our share of Fitch-Verona is going to go up about $95,000, and we'll be able to take a levy limit adjustment of that full $95,000 when we calculate what our limits are.
Okay, questions, discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to item 7, announcements. The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for November 1st, 2022. Note change of date? Oh, because of the election. It's up. We advanced it 1 week. Okay. And then adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move for adjournment.
Okay. And those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 6:21 PM.